but we also feel like we're stewards of it. You know, we're passing through. The house is, 200 and some years old, and 200 years from now, there will be other people here that, are stewards of this property. It's it's an important historic structure. My name is Michael Kaliniak. I live here at the Jacob Spears House. It's also known as Stone Castle. Jacob Spears is recognized as one of the first frontier distillers of bourbon in the world. He is credited with being the distiller that shipped barrels of bourbon from Maysville. They would barge the bourbon down to New Orleans, and then oddly, Jacob Spears would get his money and walk back to Bourbon County, Kentucky. The house is relevant in that bourbon has become such an important industry to Kentucky. Over the years, while we've lived here, bourbon has become this explosive industry. And so certainly these frontier distillers, people like Jacob Spears, who were, among the first distillers of bourbon, they're historically important to Kentucky and bourbon. It was built by Kentucky's second governor. His name was Thomas Metcalf. He was a famous stonemason. He had a nickname, Old Stonehammer. And he built this house for Jacob Spears. Over the course of the last 27 years have been steadily improving, renovating, restoring this historic house. The challenges we have with this place involve modernizing it. So we had to install modern HVAC, plumbing. Electricity was here when we moved in, but we had to update all of that. So living in a very old house and updating it to current standards was challenging and hard and certainly expensive. About a year ago, my wife and I put conservation easements on the house, our farm that has the warehouse, the stone warehouse, and certainly the spring house. We put conservation easements on all of these properties for the purpose of protecting them. Because of what they are, we were afraid that in the future, somebody would come in here and want to do something to commercially develop this property and to make it into something other than what it is now. And we both felt like we needed, while we are the stewards of it, to take steps to prevent that from happening. So now, thankfully, because of this conservation easement with the Bluegrass Land Conservancy, we have protected the property from that happening. No one can tear the house down. No one can, develop the property into anything other than what it is now, which is basically agricultural property. Bourbon can be distilled here, but then that's what Jacob Spears did, 200 years ago. We've lived here since 1996, so, we're, occupants for a relatively short period of the house's history, but in the, 25, 26 years that we've lived here, we've accumulated a lot of memories and spent, at this point, half my life living here. So it's important to me, because of that. My kids grew up here. My marriage has occurred here in this house. And for all of those reasons, it's just, it's the backdrop of our family.